Hello, my name is David Bryan, and this is Curiosity Invited, a podcast inspired by endless curiosity. Tune in for an open-minded conversation about interesting and important things. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Curiosity Invited. And what a treat. Well, it's a treat for me because today I get to speak with Alec Egan. And unbeknownst to me, maybe I was living under a rock. Unbeknownst to me, Alec Egan is a name that a bunch of people probably know. Certainly, if you pay any attention to the art world and contemporary art, then you know his name. But Alec Egan, I know Alec from a while ago. He was a student at a school I worked at, and he's one of my favorite people. And then, lo and behold, turns out he's one of a lot of people's favorite people.
One can hope.
So, how are you, Alec? And thank you for being willing to do this and spend some time and yada yada yada. So,
Of course, David. Thank you for having me, and
yeah.
you're one of my favorite people, really. And I want to talk about all that today. No, but it made me think. Even I'm sure we're going to talk about art today, and it was just making me think about how blessed I've been with people like you. You were kind of the beginning. I had a shitty fucking run at first with teachers and being seen and or understood or heard, which I think is the teenage angst in general, but the ethos of the teen. But
Well, it's the teenage angst because adults are sometimes really fucked up when it comes to
it's true.
kids.
Yeah. And so it was like a real, and then I've had to, yeah, I mean, full transparency. I'm applying, I don't know if the listener, but
Yeah,
I'm applying for my daughter to go to New Roads, who's a
yeah,
but
that's great.
wants to go to kindergarten, should be going to kindergarten next year at a great school. New Roads is the place that we're putting all of our eggs in that basket. And I've been thinking just holistically about what it meant to me, and that was it was a bizarre to that sea change of feeling completely unseen, feeling like teachers were instruments of institutions, kind of could have been faceless, could have been for whatever um, and then to be at New Roads where it was the direct opposite. I just
Mm.
felt so much like everybody was in it together. And I knew that they were because it was such at that moment of the school. It was the beginning of everything. And so
Yeah.
there was no one person that I felt was more important than another person. And that was intrinsic to the student body too. Like there were no nerds and there were no cool guys and there was just everybody there,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
kind of an amazing that's a once in a life.
it's an amazing thing. It really
Yeah,
is. And I would, the way I looked at it, and God, people, this probably bore the shit out of people, but then here we are.
yeah,
It wasn't that there weren't nerds and that there weren't jocks and that there weren't whatever, it was that everybody was incredibly generous to those other people. Whereas, like, I know when I grew up, the jocks didn't talk to the theater people, and the
right.
theater people didn't talk to the jocks, and those were the cool kids, and those were the nerds, and those were the popular kids, and so
Right.
like those kids were everybody was there,
Yeah.
but it was like all of it had currency.
Yeah.
Somehow in other places there's like this pecking order of like this is cool, that's not cool, this is okay, that's and there it was like, hey, you're a jock. I'm a computer geek, but that's cool.
Right.
That's cool. I like, I don't do that, but and it just was amazing. It really was amazing.
I
So,
agree. And it
and
was
I,
all kind of predicated on like finding the through line between it all. And then discourse was like at the center of all that. Like you had to fucking talk to people. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like I would
yeah,
have lunch with people who were so unlike me. And every day I had lunch with the same guys. Like I don't want to say their names, but great guys. But But what I mean by all this is, like, it encouraged me to look at teachers like, "Oh, I can talk to them. I
Mm,
need to talk to them." And you were the
mm.
first guy that I kind of felt that way. You allowed me in, um, and so it was just a very humanizing experience. And I told you this last time we spoke, but in the context of every other part of my life that was absolutely haywire, divorce, my brother was institutionalized. I think I'm confident that New Road saved my life, you know?
Mm.
And so, what a validating educational experience. And that brought me into college. And this is what I was thinking about before I came here today, because I knew you were going to ask about painting. I had the same experience
I
with a
might.
with with a painting teacher. I was not a painter. I was a creative writing major, and I was the captain of the rugby team, and doing drinking a lot and doing a lot of crazy shit. But I'd sneak into the painting studio at night and paint, just to just to express myself and be a wild man, and get my hands and everything. And I fell asleep in there one night, and the head of the painting department found me kind of in the morning, just scrambling around. And she was like, "All right, is this your work?" And it was bad, David. It wasn't good, but there was something in it, I guess. And she was like, "I'd never heard this before in my life." She said, "You can do this, man. You can be a great painter if you choose to be. You
Wow,
you should do this with me." And she just, like, was such a believer, even though don't think I was exhibiting any. And that, like, really
that's great.
is the reason why I became you know what I mean?
Well, I do, that's actually where my head was starting all day, was like, how come I don't remember Alec Egan taking art classes,
I
being a
didn't.
painter? Like, I was like, how did I miss that? So, here's the school that really knows its students. Oh, here's
Right.
this really knows its students. So they wait, he's a painter? What? I don't I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, it
So
wasn't.
so that was just that came from that. Well, but you were drawn, like,
Well, I create,
what
like,
what drew you to the art studio after hours when you weren't supposed to be there? Like, what was that about? Where'd that did
well,
you do that?
yeah, no, that's a great I mean, and this also has to do with New Roads, I think, in a big way, is, I at New Roads, me and like a couple other students started the poetry club, and you remember the spoken word thing that was it was big. And
Yeah.
there's like a tight knit poetry community there that I felt very much a part of, and that was my thing. And that's why decided to try to go to Kenyon, because it had the best, or one of the second best or something, creative writing departments in the country, with, like, very kind of hierarchical um methodology about how you get into the poetry class. You either get in out of the application, or you're waitlisted, and then you go to the door in the English department and you see if your name's on the door. It was like a bunch of stuff that I wanted to experience. And I did, man. I did well. I got in, and I tried, and it lasted. I was in it, towards the end of my sophomore year. It became so the opposite of what was being embraced in high school, which was more of a freedom, I guess, more of a freedom of expression. Definitely more of a contemporary idea of what poetry and that kind of linguistic expression meant, and contextualizing it, maybe within music and stuff like that. But, this was like the five modern masters, and old white guys, and syllabic breakdowns, and the images poetry. And I started to just feel really stuck, like confined. Simultaneously, I became the captain of the rugby team with a bunch of great guys who were wild men and artists and scientists and shit. And there was like this physicality.
All rugby players are wild.
Yeah, they are. They're great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there was this physicality, this kind of expression that I was able to get on the rugby field that I wasn't able to access in the writing. And there was needed to be this intermediary place where I could get both. And it happened in painting. I
Okay,
just
but that's still a puzzle. It's like, when you were you growing up, like, did you have some story about becoming, an artist or being an artist? I
Well,
mean, I know
yeah,
you have artist parents in their own genres,
yeah.
right?
My grandma was a painter. Um, and my mom made me take painting classes when I was like 6, 7, and 8. But no, I'd say that the way that art was maybe indoctrinated in us as children was as kind of a better to be a polymath than to be one thing. You know what I mean? Like, in order to be anything, you got to be everything. So
Mhm.
I had an older brother who was doing everything, writing music and making drawings, and he was also dealing with nascent mental illness, so it kind of was going all over the place. But that was very inspirational to me. You know,
Mhm.
I looked up to that, and um, yeah, just
But
I,
you weren't headed to finance or,
no,
you
hell
were
no.
gonna be a
I was writing
politician
graffiti
or
and doing poetry and playing sports and getting in a lot of trouble, and yeah, you know, being
yeah,
rebellious, but
yeah,
also just had this um feeling because of my parents from and what was said in our household when it was said was like, you know, it's better to be a worthwhile artist than anything in the world.
right, right, right,
Try
okay.
to cultivate your perspective. Try to cultivate your expression. Try to put them out there.
That's those are like, whatever you think of your parents' faults or foibles, right? Those are that's that's a way of seeing the world. It There's some truth, I think, is that if historically, if you look at what inspired, it's hard to know what inspired cultures, right? Over in historical times, right?
Sure.
What is it that made things turn in that direction on a mass level? Well, sometimes it's technology, right? But oftentimes it's the expression of people who've seen something, they have a passion for something, and they figure out how to express it in a way, and often it's art. And to hear that from your parents from an early age, I think is super powerful because it really legitimizes, art's not this thing you do as, at least that way. It's not this thing you do as a hobby,
Right.
and it's not this thing you do to, to relieve stress. It's not an add-on. There's
Right.
your serious life, and then you can do art, whatever that is. You could do music. It's a hobby. It's a thing. It's a thing I do to unwind. It's a thing I do with my friends. Well, all that could be true, but that's I think a much more common way for that kids bump into art, right?
Yeah.
It's that. It has that place. And then there's all the stuff that people say, right? There's like, well, you know, how many people support themselves as a poet,
Right.
right? Blah,
Right.
blah, blah, right?
Right.
All that stuff as if college is, as if education is, as if learning is, as if life is about your job. And I understand that jobs are important. Like it's a way, it's important to make money, but to have that makes sense to me now. Now I can say, okay, I get it. I
Yeah.
mean,
There's also kind of this, which I think you'll agree with too, is like when I was in my most formative years in high school, my dad was working at the Mark Taper Forum, and you know, I think you're right about your assessment of how art makes its way, traditionally makes its way into kids' lives, and then there's this other way, which is like this highly fetishized, like I'm going to be a fucking movie star, I'm going to be a rock star, I'm going to,
right,
and they're sensationalized, and that's unfortunately what a lot of kids see in LA is with like that's a possibility or something, you know.
right,
But
right,
I had the privilege of having a father who worked in the second industry of the theater in Los Angeles, where he was cultivating basically minority voices and center theater group and all this shit, where it was like not about money. And it was like, these people need to fucking tell these stories for this community to be whole, you know? And I'm forced to go see those things on the weekend. I'm forced to go see the poets, goes to, you know, meet the artists. And it just became a very, and also I saw the amount of work that it made, that went in to make those kind of, you know, the fundraising, all the shit to make
Right, right.
that engine work from a very young age. And I just remember thinking and knowing like this is the discipline and the perspective are integral to having a valuable life, you know?
Yeah. It's also, I gotta say, I think it's bold. I don't know if if you see that piece of it in yourself, but to try to make a life in that world. It's one thing to say, like, I am I'm the one person from Los Angeles who does not think of themselves as an artist, right? There's not, like, everybody in Los Angeles thinks of themselves as an artist, and yet to really, they're an artist, but they dabble, right? Or
Right.
but to really, you really went for it.
Oh
Like,
yeah, man.
that's what you want to do. That's what you wanted to do. That's what you were gonna do, and you did. And, like, that's
Well,
wild.
yes, thanks. I mean, that comes from a different, more savage place in me where I heard a lot of the shit that you're talking about, where people are like, you can't make it as a poet. You're gonna make, and that all meant to me was okay. Now I'm gonna do this. You know, yeah, like there's a big fuck you at every turn, like up until a few years ago, really, um, because that is a, I mean, on many levels, that is a, you got to have you got to have grit, like a lot of grit and will to want to make it, because it is very unsure. It's oil and water with capital. You know, the creating things and making money are not always
Right, right.
anonymous. So,
Did it ever take you by surprise that you made stuff and people said, "Oh, how much?" Like, "Oh, I'd like to represent you. I'd like to," like, or did you know you were good at it?
um, that's a good question. I think I felt like I had a few things that were compelling about what I was doing. Like, I felt like I may have had a power and like some rawness inside of me when I was beginning, but then the rest of that, it what did not take me by surprise, because I was like willing to give my life for what I was doing, you know, and I basically went to like rock bottom to get where I was what I was getting, and I realized that that's what the experiment was all about, you
What
know.
do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Um, so you go through like, in order, unfortunately, mine is not an overnight success story, really. It's like not like someone found me when I graduated from college and I was making those paintings in the studio at Kenyon and they were like, wow, you're something, man.
Yeah, really.
It was like I had to believe in what that teacher was telling me, go all in. Then I spent about 10 years just lost, traveling across the country. I spent a lot of time in Iowa in like abandoned farmhouses and this town called Makokata, because real estate was so cheap, and I was just there to paint. And I was painting and painting and painting and living kind of in destitution a lot of the time. And I ended up in Portland and then Vermont, kind of in the middle of nowhere, chasing that cheap space, manual labor jobs so I could keep painting and putting on exhibitions or getting them somehow, finding my way in. But the well kind of ran dry, and that's when I noticed, this is like around 27, I'd say, when I was 27. That's when I noticed like the first real contingent of people of my peers being like, whatever we were dreaming about has got to take a back seat to reality now. So we're going to go do this, you know? And I really hit a wall. I mean, that was the first dark time in my life where I was like, fuck, I feel alone. Every painter that I knew has decided that they're not going to be a painter anymore. I have to make a choice now. And I ended up going to grad school. So that was the first kind of concession I made that I didn't really know if I wanted to do it or not. And then in grad school, it was the same kind of series of hurdles. You know, you get in there, you're in a group of maybe 14 people and two classes. So that's like 28 people. And you realize pretty quickly that maybe five or six people have a serious intent of living their lives as an artist and making money from their art. The others are interested in it for teaching or networking or a degree or a thing and a thing and a thing, or maybe we just showing sometimes is okay. And so it was like interesting to see that. It was kind of, I was in a bit of disbelief, but through that process, I realized that I had to work harder and I ended up graduating pretty much because I was willing to go far for it, you know, graduating at the top of my class and getting picked up out of my thesis show by a gallery. But it's been like a series of things like that. There's like a lot of attrition and you can see,
Yeah,
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 there's a lot of
yeah.
smoke and mirrors and that, you know, I can count the fucking real painters that I know on a hand, I think. And by that I mean like people who really are giving their whole life to it. Like to their practice, to making it happen, to fucking the will to show, the will to want to engage people and keep going. And it's never, you know, uh, the insatiable desire to keep making things, you know. Um, so yeah,
And is that still there?
yeah,
Given all your success?
oh yeah,
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 cool. And
yeah. I mean, I have like weird, you know. Yesterday was I was kind of staring off into the distance for a long time in my studio, and I work with assistants, and they were like, "What's going on with you, man?" I had this profound thought. I mean, to me, it was a profound thought, a thought of profundity to me, which was, you know, we're like a weird hunter gatherer society, and we've somehow created this like system of capital and economics around that. And then there was this other thing that we were doing, which is drawing on caves, like making art in caves.
right,
And it's very odd to continue that lineage, like to have it be inside of you. That DNA inside of you is it just feels very primitive sometimes. Like that need to, yeah, reveal the world to itself as like through the vehicle, through this flesh vehicle is bizarre. You know, and it feels, like it definitely feels like more and more as I get older, like a station in life that I didn't really choose, you know?
no, right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah. What
And
the
I
hell?
don't know the meaning of it. You know, I
No,
can't tell
no,
you like,
exactly. I was about to say, I was
yeah,
what was the sentence on my mind is like, "What the hell is that about?"
yeah,
Right?
you
Like,
can't
what?
really so there is this
Yeah,
ineffable quality to it, and you kinda gotta get that's why, you know, I feel like artists are such fucking assholes or they're really in touch with something. And maybe they're both constantly
yeah,
throughout their life,
yeah.
but you have like the journey has taught me that I just have to keep giving myself over to the unknown, to like
Mm,
to
mm.
have a little faith in it, you know?
Well, okay, so can we talk a little bit about the work and like, I mean, you're talking to somebody. Not only am I the only guy in Los Angeles that's not an artist, never thought of himself as an artist, but
Right.
but uh, I'm also ignorant about it. So
No.
you're gonna educate me. You're gonna
Okay.
educate me. So you paint on what?
Canvas.
It's always canvas,
It's always I mean, in the beginning, it was like,
whatever you could get.
yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
stealing,
wood,
like,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was fun. But yeah, canvas, and I work on paper sometimes, and I also
And
make sculptures. I also make sculptures.
you also make sculptures, so
Yeah.
that's what I wanna know. It's like, is it ever more than that? Because it's I will say that it's hard to tell. Every once in a while, there's pictures that I come across that where you can see, looking at a screen, it's a screen, and, you can't get closer and have it reveal its 3rd dimension, so,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
they're like the
everything's
t
flat, but
right.
then every once in a while, you see something like somebody did a close-up of something, it's like, "Oh, wait, that's not flat." There's
Yeah,
like
they're
there's like
yeah,
thick
yeah,
paint on
that's
it, right? So
yeah.
which looks sculptural, like, it's
Sure.
like, "Ooh." So so but there's not a lot of people.
No people.
No people.
Yeah.
There's
I
the
could
there's
paint it
the
I mean
accoutrements of people, right? There's somebody's shoes, I don't know, maybe they're yours, boots,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Or
right,
there's
yeah,
there's things that people use and people live in or around or
correct.
see, but
Right.
there's no people.
Yeah.
And so that's a choice of some sort.
Mhm.
Has that become a is that a choice that has become a thing that now you're not allowed to draw people?
Well, I'm
Or
actually painting my first person right now.
really?
First person in maybe a decade, yeah. I'm that I plan to exhibit. I painted a couple people, but I haven't shown them. But that is a choice that is not like a prison. That's a very conscious choice.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and, my knee-jerk answer is we are way too as a species, we are way too self-reflexive. I don't need to fucking see another person, you know what
Yeah. Yeah.
and why we are so self-reflexive and why we are so obsessed with our shit and ourselves and our madness and the representation of beauty over and over like nothing is good enough. It's a maximalist
Right.
psychology that we live in. So the work aims to represent that also like verging into this state of maybe nascent madness. The term I like to use is prodromal, which was like growing up. I mean, it speaks to my life because I grew up with someone who was a paranoid schizophrenic, but it hadn't expressed itself yet. But definitely the markers were there that the guy was fucking losing it, you know?
Your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was in the context of like a house in Brentwood that was filled with Laura Ashley shit. And, it was bizarre to me. And so,
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and so and I started asking myself all these questions, I think at a young age about like, you know, when you're getting beat up by a guy who's mentally ill and you're staring at a floral curtain, you're kind of like, what is this escape? Like, am I supposed to be escaping into the beauty of this curtain right now? Like, why isn't it just a plain curtain? Those things kind of like confused me as a kid, you know? Um, and so the the interiors that I'm painting are kind of the prodromal state of some type of psychosis, I think.
Mm.
Whether it's
You
po
know,
yeah,
they're I will say, obviously I haven't seen everything. I mean, sounds like there's tons, but they're beautiful.
thank you.
And and
Disgusting.
they're I don't know about disgusting. They're beautiful. They're beautiful,
Yes.
and then they're, like, intense, and then they're
Yes,
and
yes.
and and it's kind of amazing. I mean, they really are,
Thank
like
you.
yeah, and the colors, like, it's hard to know because 'cause I'm looking at it on a screen, right? But the colors are so rich. They're
Yeah.
like they're almost enveloping, but it's like rich food, right? It's like, I could g I wanna eat the whole cheesecake,
Right.
right? And yet I know I'm not supposed to eat the whole cheesecake, so it's like, "Man, I gotta" and so they were incredibly vivid, and somehow they fit together, and yet it's I don't it's like the don'ts column from Cosmo magazine. Whatever you do, don't wear all this
Yeah, yeah,
and go
yeah,
outside,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right.
Don't put that together.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really there's definitely compelling.
Well,
Like, it's
thank you.
so I love it. I mean, I really love it, and the fact that well, obviously, I I'm so biased here. I love it, and I love that you did it. It's wait, you did that? Alec Egan. I know Alec Egan. He did that. So cool. So
Thank you,
cool.
David.
I'm a little bit fanboy here over the top.
No, you're the man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think
Really.
but I think this, what so the whole spectrum of the idea that you're looking at right now, I assume you're looking at images, is I when I got so I came into graduate school with this creative writing background. I was like since high school, I've been a hyper narrative guy. That's what I'm into. That's what I'm drawn to. Um, and when I went to grad school, it was like a heavily theory laden program, and basically the blanket statements were painting is dead, and um, narrative painting is definitely not okay. Like, if you're gonna paint, no narrative painting. So then I was like, I'm definitely gonna paint, and I'm gonna be a narrative painter. um, so
How come I didn't get that guy in school?
yeah,
How come that guy never that guy was like I expected that guy actually.
really,
I expected I think I told you this, when I let you in,
yeah,
I thought, "This guy's gonna be work, man. This
no.
guy's gonna be I don't know about this. I don't know about this." And it was like, I kept waiting for that guy to show up, and he just
Oh,
and this mensch showed up. This
that's
really good human being showed up. So,
that means the world to me.
when you started making this stuff
Yeah.
and and drifted towards I'm assuming, I don't know if it was in grad school or afterwards, right? That you drifted towards there's no people in there. There's a lot of things that you find around a house, I guess.
Well, then yeah. Let me. I'll walk you through.
Tell me. Yeah,
So
tell
then,
me.
yeah, I keep getting sidetracked. But
Yeah, I know. It's
so then
fine.
so I knew that I wanted to paint narratively. And I s- stood behind that, and I was able to kind of like work that through in my program and become loved a little bit by my professors for doing that, and they saw the value in it. And then I had that long period of my life on the road trying to paint, and I was like really depressed, really kind of, and I didn't have anything, you know. It was a very good time in my life in a lot of ways, because while I feel like a lot of people my age were taking that time to seek comfort or adventure, I was like at my physical peak in terms of durability. And I was like, let's put it to the test, man, for what we love. So when I was living in all these shitholes trying to paint, I just noticed that in the Midwest, man, in these burnt out towns, in these farm towns, in these blue collar places in Vermont, every fucking house that I went into had this wallpaper, this shitty fucking 40s, 50s, 60s wallpaper. And when you really have nothing to go back to and you're there to paint and you're there to look at everything, you're like, you just become enthralled by it. And I just remember thinking, this is the escape. Like, this is people's uh tragic method of escape, this
Mm,
wallpaper.
mm.
And I wonder what it's like and then I thought about how I grew up with the Laura Ashley shit, and like, oh, this is just what we do. Like, this is kind of dark. This is kind of dark. And it's very interesting. Like, you look out, there's this place where I was painting called Baldwin, Iowa. And Iowa had also suffered a major drought, and Baldwin had kind of the farming infrastructure there had kind of collapsed. And I think there maybe been maybe 1,000 people in the town or something. So the town kind of went dark. Dark in terms of like suddenly there was tons of meth. There's only one bar that like everybody would be in, and it was kind of scary. But and you got these houses that were once like fruitful farmhouses were dilapidated, but people were still in them.
Yeah.
And I just felt like the connection between this and where I came from like needs to be represented. And the
Mm.
vacancy of the figure, I don't want an identity to overwhelm this idea. I want the viewer, because this is such a ubiquitous cultural phenomenon that we decorate our homes with this shit. I want the viewer to be able to start to construct the identity throughout looking at the paintings. And I don't know what that identity is. I think it's one that's ever revealing itself. So
Mm.
the idea then became each exhibition would be a room in an imaginary house. I'd paint a bedroom, and all the details would be the subsequent paintings from the bedroom. That would be one exhibition. The next one would be the kitchen. The next one would be a bathroom. So I'm like, I don't know, 10 or 11 rooms into the house right now.
Okay, well, at least I get a story. I got the
Okay.
story. I got the story. So, is it always like that for you? Like, do you ever paint something just because that shows up in your imagination? Or do you paint things do you have an idea about what you want it to be before it starts? "Okay, I'm gonna do the kitchen now. I'm gonna do the attic. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck it is." You know what I'm
Um,
saying?
yeah, of course I paint shit that I just want to paint, but I'd say those are tributaries to the
Yeah.
main sequence of events. I also do feel like there has to be some intellectual rigor involved in the painting, like some thoughtfulness. Um,
It's not just
yeah,
it's not
the
just
cow in the field, like who gives a
not
fuck
just a
about
pretty thing on the
yeah,
wall
that's
or a
right.
whatever thing on the wall.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not decorative. It's not just
right,
a
right,
decoration.
yeah.
Right, right.
And that's more of a like a populist understanding of painting, not the one that I'm not the cow on the wall, the being intellectually rigorous because I want to be generous with people, man. I want them to have something that they have to think about, that they feel deeply about.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can't feel deeply about a sunset, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean. Wow. Okay, let me shift gears. We're gonna go over our time. I hope that's okay.
That's okay with me.
I'll have to figure out how to cut it, maybe there'll be 2 episodes of Alec Egan, but we also talked briefly, very briefly, about the art business,
Yes.
and so there's the challenge of you working and making something that you wanna make that that says I don't know if that's the right word, says what you wanna say, whatever that means,
Right.
and and then there's the, you know, unless it's got eyeballs on it,
Right.
right? Like, so you have to put that somehow in the world of and especially if you wanna live your life that way, you
Right.
have to intersect with business of some
Sure.
so so there's galleries, there's
Yes.
exhibition spaces, there's museums, there's
Right.
coffee shops,
Yeah.
there's, "Hey, I'm having an exhibition, come over," or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So so how does that all work? Is it tainted? Is it fucked up? Is it don't say anything that's gonna get you in trouble,
No, I'm gonna say some stuff that
'cause
gets
I want you to keep doing what you're doing.
Is it tainted and is it fucked up? Yes. It's deeply corrupt, strange world. Um, it's the most unregulated market in the world, I think. Um, and there are many hypocritical politics that govern it. Um, and I think, as you know, that the plight of the artist's financial model is not one that's a secret. You have to give away 50% of anything you make in the art world.
Right.
Um,
Is that true? Is that true? Is that like across the board? Like,
that's
what?
across the board, man. That's across
Okay,
the
so you're represented by XYZ or maybe several XYZs, right?
Yeah,
And then somebody walks into your studio because you invite them over and they
yeah,
say, wow, that's fucking beautiful. Or that's amazing. I really want that. How much?
right.
Do you get to sell that and keep the whole thing?
That's a good question. Um, some artists do, some artists don't. Depends on your agreement,
Really?
stage in your career, your authority over your own career.
Right,
Um, but there is this like whipping boy beginning that every artist has to experience, which is unfortunate, where you're
right,
just at the whim and the mercy of y-
right,
your emerging career, where your market's being built and you're kind of like, yeah, at the mercy of the gallery that's representing you. Usually,
right,
hopefully
right,
that it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes they're coercive and cutthroat and unethical, and then you got to have the guts to walk away.
right,
But the other thing that's inextricable from the artist's personality is desperation, because you're like, shit, man, there are millions of people gunning for any spot in this thing. I gotta hold on for dear life. So it's this.
and that's there.
Oh yeah,
That's just there.
yeah. You hear about these. I mean, I think that's true all the way to the end, no matter what stage in your career you get. I hear about my favorite heroes, artists who are still governed by money and still feel like the bottom's going to fall out at any second, any day.
Right.
They literally could not have done more in the art world. You know what I mean? So I think that's just part of the pathology of the artist.
Is there a
That's
is it
that's
I don't
why there
know.
is no union, and that's why there is no
Right.
real deep community. It's because we are all fucked with that feeling of
Right.
desperation. You know, the main metric in the art world to deter, or historically, to determine an artist's value is their auction record,
Their
right?
auction marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have a primary price, which is what would mean is a work made and sold in exhibition. That would be your primary price. Um, but a secondary price is when a work is bought in exhibition and then resold, right? Or auctioned. Um, so your primary prices usually go up a little depending on the interest and the demand. They go up relatively systematically, exhibition to exhibition, year to year, until they hit a ceiling, barring that you go to auction, like a Sotheby's auction or something like that. Someone puts your piece at auction, and a $50,000 painting that's selling in your gallery somehow goes for $1 million. Then your prices raise, right? Does this make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who gets that?
Yeah, that's right. The auction house and the fucking
And the
no,
person
yeah, and the
who
person
the
who's selling it, who gave it to the auction house. Um, yeah, it's a whole thing, right? So these genius fucking artists were like, they can do it, we can do it. So they kind of created a, a fictitious buyer and put their work at auction and bought it for a ton of money in
oh, well.
order to raise their whole fucking market,
Oh, well.
and then kind of had control over everything in their career, which I think is pretty
It's a
or
good
they
I mean, if you're gonna work in a system like that, it's like, well, okay, it's like hacking the system, so that's
yeah,
alright.
there's
Yeah,
a there's a double a catch 22 there though, because as an artist, man, if you're doing shit like that, I feel like you're then spending so much time figuring out
yes, I was just thinking that.
rat's nest
Right. Your
of
energy
the
starts to
economics of
go
the
to,
art
like
world that
yeah,
you're now it's kind of a cutthroat businessman,
right,
and the
right.
people that I've seen do that, their artwork diminishes. They start
No,
making
that's
the same
interesting.
thing over and over again. They're like, you know, so it's like, what do you want to be? I'm not interested in doing any of that shit. Um, but I am interested in, and this goes back to New Roads, man. I am interested in being very transparent, very clear, and 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 aware about my boundaries and what I expect out of my community and the people that I work with.
Mm,
So I feel like I've had some tricky partnerships, but I've been able to be very fucking clear, you know?
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
is the line that we can't go over, and if we go, then I'm gonna have to have the courage to fucking walk away, and I do, and things are fine, you know? But yeah, it's that it's the same thing with any other industry, man, to some extent. There are power dynamics, and people feel like they're lesser than, and they can't um you
yeah,
know, pick
yeah.
up themselves, and there's a sickness there for sure. And also, this is the part that I shouldn't talk about, but
Mm,
the whole facade of the art world is just disgusting. You know what I mean? It's like rich white people governing the art world. And it's literally probably the most conservative,
mm,
fiscally right wing uh, gamblers market run by those people,
right.
developers, and all this, putting forth a facade of social, uh, like minority voices, social justice. This is what we stand for. When literally, the black art portrait artist who's represented today and his work sells for $1 million this year will be dropped next year if
Mm,
the market is not okay. So there's no adherence or loyalty to the mission. It's just to the money. Do you see what
right,
I'm saying?
right.
And
It
all of that is an angle to sell the fucking painting. So
right,
it's
I
like,
get it. Well, okay, but so here's it's not intended to be a gotcha question because it doesn't feel like that, but it is curious. Like, given who you are and your values, like,
to participate.
for you to make it in the art world,
Right.
and you've made it in a certain way. Like, are you at the top of the heap? No, but right, but y it's impressive.
We're heaping.
Yeah, and who can afford to play in that world, to buy your stuff, that's not the people's art, you know what I mean?
Right.
So how do you think about that? Like, does it bother you? I don't and I'm not a person who thinks money is bad. Like, whatever, it's a way of exchanging stuff and, the inequity is bad in the world, but it's not money itself. Money is just, it's like, whatever. It's like you get hit in the face with a football, and it'd be a mistake to think of football as bad,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, but there's a way in which that's the audience you have to figure out how to appeal to. Well, no, that you hope you appeal to.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's wrapped up in that. Maybe you appeal to all sorts of audiences, but the only way you can know that is if somebody buys your painting, right? Right, or wants you to do something.
Right.
And and the people who can afford to to reward you for doing the thing that you are driven to do and passionate about, uh, they're at a certain socioeconomic level, and that's it. A poor guy can't buy your stuff.
Sure.
So it's weird, no?
Weird, man. It's weird.
So how do you think about that?
I think about that. Um,
Or maybe you don't think about that. Now, now I should have shut my mouth.
no, no, no. I do think about that. I just never think that anybody. That's interesting. Okay, so I guess the way that I would think about that is, I think that the exhibition
Yeah,
is the platform for it to be for everybody. You know
right.
what I mean? A lot of artists go through life not thinking anything is going to be collected. They just live and die by the exhibition. So I don't know. To have things collected is just a great gift.
Yeah,
It's like people are buying cars off the wall. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like. So it's always a little bit mind blowing, and
yeah,
it is also yeah, it's bizarre that inanimate material objects can be
yeah,
ranked in value like that, you know?
yeah,
But the other part of that is like, I don't think a fucking it's such a personal investment that I don't know if some poor guy would want to buy my work. But if he did and he asked me, I'd fucking probably give him some work. You know what I mean? So
right,
it's
right. Yeah, yeah. But that's you. That's a you, right? And that's that's what I love about you. Always have. But yeah, that's a tricky one. It is a tricky one in my own mind.
but what world is free of that?
No, there isn't. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Nobody's pure as driven snow,
No,
right?
no.
Right?
I
Like,
mean, if anything, the constraints and the context is clear in the art world. It's fucking cutthroat. Everybody knows that. You know what I mean? Actually,
Lily Tomlin used to have this line. You remember Lily Tomlin?
yeah.
No, probably never used. Yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah.
yeah, okay. So she used to have this line that she said, the problem with a rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat." So
This is true.
so there's something but that's the world. That's our world.
Yeah, I guess what is and I agree. And I agree. But I guess what's interesting about the art world and what fascinates me about it as someone who's interested in psychological space and visual manifestation, it's like if you really commit yourself as a creative thinker to a durational process that is building like a career as an artist, I think you can really expand the boundaries of what is possible to be seen visually. Now, I'm not just talking about the constraints of a painting. I'm talking about installations and rooms and buildings and
Sure. You
that
bet.
that are weird little monuments to civilization. You know what I mean? That are a bit, I don't know. They're like the cave paintings, man. They're like they deserve to be here. You know what I mean?
Right.
They are, and so I think that's our all. Like I remember in undergrad, I was reading this essay about what it means to write the mystical poem. And basically this author's, I forget the author, but the author's argument was every poet has a mystical poem in their head that's perfect. And then each approach is a poem, but they
Mm.
never get to the mystical poem. So
Yeah,
if they did, they'd stop fucking writing, right?
that'd be it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
some people get pretty fucking close, David. So what I'm trying to say is there are artists who really go for that and are living in the faith of what it means to follow that vision, and
Mhm,
the rest of the world kind of falls away. They transcend the poison of the business,
mhm.
and there are other people who get enveloped by it and are very successful. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You bet.
I would hope to follow this way
Yes, right.
and lead it to the mystical poem somehow, you
Sure.
know?
I completely get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
totally get it.
I mean, it's a leap of faith. Every day is a leap of faith in all the things we're doing. We live in a fucked up country right now. It's like every day is a leap of faith, right?
Well, that yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Why?
Yeah,
Why do we keep doing it? I mean, I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but I mean,
you're
but
not
it's
taking
like,
up my
you
time,
know,
dude. This
when
is
I was
totally fun.
when I was on the one of those that farm years ago painting, I was reading Sartre, and I remember his um one of his proofs for God is the fact that humans have inherently a rugged optimism.
Tell
I'm
me
going to
more.
keep going no matter
Right,
what the circumstances.
right.
You know, I'm not going to fucking go burn everything down and take everything from I'm going to keep going. Like, I'm going to try. I know that there's like the wrong thing to do and the right thing to do. And I think that kind of rugged optimism is like central to the health of an artist. I don't know how to explain that much better.
What well, now I have 2 questions, and then I feel like I need to let you go, not the opposite. I almost I mean, I wanna give you a chance to talk about it or to say something about it if it worth saying, so but I'm not even sure if it is.
You want to talk about the fire?
You what? About what?
The fire?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about the fire. I was gonna
Go
ask you,
for it.
like I was gonna ask you about, like, so has the fire I mean, you were creating a house with rooms,
Right.
and then you lost your house
Yeah, pretty ironic.
completely,
Yeah.
right? And has it affected has it affected the rooms you wanna paint?
Well, yeah, in the beginning there was like a well, right after the fire, there was a few months of just like abject trauma um response, high adrenaline, high like hypervigilance, and I didn't really know what to paint, but I was painting a lot, and that's when I started painting the fire a lot. Yeah, I went right into painting. Like um
Where'd you do that?
eh, this whole period of time has been pretty fascinating, but I first my gallery at the time gave me like a back room in their gallery to paint.
I let you to paint.
Yeah, and I was there every day.
That's great. Yeah,
And the fire was like coming out of me, but then they also we lost a show for that gallery, so they booked another show, so I was painting that show as well. It was just like a ton of work right off the bat.
right,
Um, but yeah, I mean I that was good for me. I really fucking like to work, man, and that's what I mean about the grit and the will and the discipline and like all those things came to play, and I got to see something about myself that was very valuable after the fire, you know. Um, mainly that I lean in, like I'm not leaning out. You know what I mean?
right. You bet.
Yeah, and that painting is central to my understanding of even my own nervous system,
Mhm,
which was kind of like
mhm.
revealing to me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, d- what was the question?
Well, I'm not sure that may have been I don't know if I asked the question, but that was the answer for sure.
Okay, yeah,
But
then
but
it,
but wait, so
and then a
you're
bunch of bullshit happened. I mean, it was a fucking confusing time. A bunch of benefits happened and prints sold as 100% donation. I didn't see any of the money. Um, like my art was being leveraged as fake money for people. I got taken advantage of
oh, well.
at my lowest, and so I had to leave partnerships.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it was just like it was everything at once. That I
And where
loved
are
the
you
art.
now?
Where am I now?
I mean, where are you now in terms of, like, are you back on, are both feet somewhere on the ground? I mean,
Yes.
I yeah, yeah.
I have a new studio in Santa Monica. I have
Do you
2.
studio where you live?
No,
No.
no. Um, Not gonna make that mistake twice. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
but yeah, I got a great 2 assistants that I really love who work with me, or who's like the fire kind of united us around a larger mission of getting back on one's feet. The
Yeah,
what art can do, and
yeah, yeah.
um and then I just got picked up by a new gallery. The representation was announced yesterday, which is a huge big step for me and a great thing for me. Yeah, it's Velmetter.
Great. And has it changed what you wanna paint? Or are you going back to a
Has it
house?
changed? What do I no, yeah, well, what I meant to say is, that's the question. Okay, yeah. Right afterwards, I was like, I got to paint whatever the fuck comes out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was emotional and not emotional, and then like and then I had this huge aversion to painting what I was painting, and now I feel like I've re-engaged the subject matter with even more weirdness and more like honesty
The subject matter
of the house.
of
Of
the house.
Yeah, people call it.
Cool.
I mean, I guess the word for it is intimism, the study of objects and interior spaces.
What is it?
Intimism.
Intimism.
Yeah,
Somebody made that word up, man.
I know, man. I know.
Cool. Yeah, yeah,
But, I mean, the main takeaway from the fire is, for me as an artist, was just awe. Awe.
yeah,
See something like that.
totally, totally. To be that we should say out loud, Alex and his family lost everything to the fire, to the Palisades fire. It was
Yeah.
one of those. It was one of those. He was living, working at near the fire's beginning, and so, you know, took it all. So,
Yeah.
which and a ton of work that was already done for 2 shows, right? Was it for 2 shows?
It was
Yeah,
for like 2.5 shows. Yeah.
2 shows. So it's, that's an enormous loss.
And there was a bunch of work in the house too.
Yeah, yeah,
But the weird thing Mm, about life and the cadence of it is, there were so many things. It's like when you told me about New Roads, and you were saying I was just walked in the parking lot, parked my car and was walking in, and you had this epiphany, like, am I ever going to change the course?
right.
Um, how long would you say it was from that moment to when you made a decision?
Oh, the the sweater started unraveling. I could not let go of the thread.
Right.
So, it was probably it was probably over the course of 6 to 8 months before I made a decision.
So I was in that place for about 4.5 years
Yeah,
of wanting to make all these decisions about my career and what I wanted to do. And it took the fire for it to all.
and the fire accelerated. Suddenly, it was like, yeah, really. Okay, well, I have one more question, which has to do with your children, your family, your children. Like, but we were talking about something before, and I was like, gonna say, what are you gonna tell your children? That there's what did you call it? What did you call it? Ferocious grit? Something grit.
I don't know.
But it was
Roaches grit is good.
yeah, but is that how you raise your children?
N uh, no, but it is in the way that I raise my children, but it's not in the
Yeah.
what I'm telling them, or
No, right. Right.
I'm I feel like I am attempting to be the most present,
Yeah.
loving,
Yeah.
um, parent that I can be, and that just means They always come first. They're always my number one priority. They're my best friends, man. They're the best people I know, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, and I also think that this is like the difference in the pedagogy between a lot of parents or the way that maybe we were raised. I don't know if you were, but I was raised and the generations before me, opposed to what's happening now I hope to some extent, but it's like, I don't want to fucking tell my kids how to be. I want to just be with them and hopefully show them what the fuck I'm doing that they like, and that they can take from. So like already I work out every morning. I know that, they're like coming outside trying to lift shit with me. They come to my studio, they paint, and they know that it's something that is fun, but it all requires a lot of discipline, you know? And the main thing that I feel like that discipline is balanced on is, which my daughter has in spades, and it's like so great to see, is courage.
Mm.
Courage is just like, we're all afraid. We're all afraid. It's scary
Oh,
out here. It's existential, man. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
oh, it's
But you make a
terrifying.
choice. You make the best possible choice you can, and you fucking stick to it, and you go and you ask questions along the way, and you do it with like, my the way my daughter does it is with just gusto,
With
like we're doing,
ferocious
yeah,
grit.
yeah.
Right.
And I think that that's the kind of stuff that
Yeah,
I want to instill. And
wow. Well, you just used a phrase a moment ago that I'm gonna use now, which is, they're the best people you know. They're the best people. Well, you're one of the best people I know.
you're one of the best people I
A
know, David.
Alec Egan. I am so glad to be in touch with you.
Yeah, me
And
too, man.
so good. So thank you, thank you for being willing to spend time meandering through all this with me.
Of
I
course.
really, I mean, you. This is. I say it to people all the time when before I hit record. I say, look, you know, from my point of view, I don't know how it plays in Peoria, but from my point of view, it's like it's way better as a conversation than it is as an interview.
No, I
Right?
agree.
I ask a question, you give me an answer. I ask a question, you give me an answer. I ask a question, goodbye.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
way better that it goes where it goes, and it's like it's so. This is just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
I could
cool.
talk to you for
Cool.
another 10 hours, David.
Yeah, that's how I feel.